Hello, everybody. Gustavo Lopes here for our first pre-game of the season of the 2025 MLS Regular season, where the New England Revolution will face Nashville SC. A game in Nashville, so it's first away game of the season, and the Revs trying to build from the great off season they had, and try to have a totally different season from what they did last year. Two teams who didn't have the best seasons, as we can say. Nashville with only 9 wins, the Revs with the same 9 wins. So both teams trying to rebuild and have a different outcome this year. So when I talk a little bit about the injury report, about what can I expect, can we expect from this game, possible lineups, and what I would like to see going into this game that I'm actually excited about. I'm excited to talk about the game, excited to be on a call for the game in Portuguese for Nosso Radio USA. So if you listen to Portuguese, if you speak Portuguese or Spanish, or if you want to just listen to me talk on the radio, you can hop in on Nosso Radio on YouTube or on a dial 1260 AM in Massachusetts. All right, so let's head into the video. Just a little bit of a record. Start talking about the last game. Last game was on September 28th, 2024, where the Revs won 1-0 at home against Nashville with Brandon by header. The Revolution actually played pretty well against Nashville last year. That was one of the few clubs that the Revs faced twice, and then they actually had a decent game. Honestly, we cannot talk about that game as much as we wanted to, because both teams look so different now. But that's a good reminder that last year, the last game between both teams was a Revs win. I also went after the all-time record. Nashville, it actually has 2 wins. There are 3 draws, and Revolution has 4 wins. So, in general, the Revs are ahead in that matchup. With Nashville that made the playoffs for 4 consecutive years since their inaugural season, and then last year they failed to make the playoffs for the first time in their club history, which is kind of impressive, right? First 4 seasons making the playoffs. Not every team can do that. And let's start talking about the New England Revolution, right? Some 14 new signings. We've been talking about that a lot. Everybody has been talking about that a lot. From the goalkeeper position to the striker, every position pretty much has signed someone besides the left back, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. The Revolution went with a very strong lineup in the last preseason game against Hartford Athletic at Gillette Stadium, which we were there. So, lineup wise, we shouldn't see no surprises, right? But we gotta see a lot of different things that we didn't see last year, and starting with the outside players, the fullbacks, and also the wingers. This kid Ganago that got brought in, plus Brandon By, plus Luca Langone, and whoever's playing on the left, is gonna have a lot of responsibilities this year, because that's how Porter likes to play, and we've seen that. I'll mention again one of the games last year, which I think was probably Brandon Bynes' first assist, or Peyton Miller's first assist, which was towards the end of the year. I know it was second semester, because Brandon Bynes didn't play pretty much the first half of the year because of the injury. But Porter goes out on a press conference, says, the way I want my team to play, it shouldn't take this long to have the fullbacks to have an assist. And the way that we saw him play throughout preseason, where he had at least 4 goals of a winger going out near the goal line, cut back pass, someone comes in and scores, especially Yusuf. So we're gonna see a lot of that. So I'll be expecting Ganago to be on fire tonight. Him and Luca Langoni doing those movements, going to the behind the back line of Nashville's defense, and then doing that cutback pass, doing that cross. Because right now we have a guy like Leo Campagna as a striker that can head the ball, which we did not have last year. I know people have a lot of criticism towards Vrioni, and my biggest one was he can't head the ball. The whole team in general. Brandon Bai is a pretty good header and header guy. And last year, I think he scored once in a header, which was against Nashville. So you're not gonna remember a lot of moments where that team or this team was strong with the aerial ball. And now they just hire a set pieces coach. He's been there for like 3-4 weeks now. So that's probably going to be the biggest change you're going to see. If you didn't watch the game against Hartford, and depending on how the lineup's going to go, which probably we know how it is, and I'm going to talk about that. We're going to see Jacksonville taking the corner kicks on one side and Carlos Hill on the other side. So those aerial balls, those low crosses, the high crosses, behind the back line, going to the sideline and then crossing the back and someone coming in as a surprise man coming from behind and shooting, that's going to be the play. That's going to be the play. The thing is, Nashville has a guy like Zimmerman that's pretty good. So they're going to have to beat that. They're going to have to beat him in speed, which I think Anago has that speed. Langoni too. So they're going to have to use a lot of speed to go behind the back line and try to get to those plays. Meanwhile, as I asked Kyle Porter last weekend, you're going to have a Carlos Hill way closer to the opposite box than we saw last year. So think with me, right? And the words that Kelly Porter said, he was dropping too low on a field because didn't have nobody to help him create the plays. There was nobody sharing that responsibility with him. And I know people don't think so, but I do think Matt Polster is a pretty good guy receiving the ball and doing that first pass throughout the midfield, but he doesn't have the same quality as Hill, of course. So Hill had to drop low, and you see him getting frustrated a lot last year. So Calaporte said, no, that's not gonna happen. So now we have Yusuf and we have you. That's gonna be those guys back there, and Kazil only got to worry about attacking. He only got to worry about attacking, and that's when Kazil was the most dangerous. When he only has to think about getting the ball to the opposite box or shooting or giving that assist or that hockey assist that you guys like to call, creating those plays. So he's not going to have as much responsibilities, and you guys don't expect to see Carlos touching the ball as much as we saw last year. So his stats probably going to go down in that way of touches and passes, but we're definitely going to see more assists and probably more goals from Carlos this year, I assume. Talking about Nashville a little bit, they brought 11 new players, so they look like a whole different team. But they also have a lot of injuries as well. That's probably one of the first injury reports that we saw coming out from MLS, where the Revs are not a team with the higher number of injuries. So that was kind of surprising. I just want to list three: Acosta, Bergman, and Tyler Boyd. Boyd is a player that I like a lot in MLS. I really like Tyler Boyd. He has a nice finishing for outside the box. He's a really smart player, a veteran at this point. So that's a big injury. That's a big miss that Nashville's going to have throughout this game. But, of course, they still have Henny Mukhtar and Sam Surridge, which are two great players. Sam Surridge hasn't had the best career in MLS, but he always likes to show out against the Revs. I don't know why, but he thinks that he has the Revs number. So he's a guy to look for. And he's a guy that Fofana is going to have to guard. He's going to have to defend against. And that's going to be the big test. At the first game, they're going to have a big test against two extreme well players. So it's a really hard task for Ceballos and Fofana. They're not there yet with chemistry. They seem to be dealing along very well. But so first game of the season, and they're already going to have a big test. I had Mukhtar is a former MVP. Sam Surridge, like I said, against the Revs, he scored bangers, and we saw that happening. So that's going to be a good test for defense and see where those guys are at. Especially with our left side of our defense, not our team, because I don't play for the team, but the Revolution, because we don't know who's going to be there. If it's going to be Will Sands injured, it's going to be a healthy Will Sands, or Eli Fingal is going to have to play as an inverted fullback. So that's where I'm worried the most. I'm worried about that left side of the defense. See how they're gonna react, how they're gonna protect, if they're gonna play as a three center back, which they did a lot against Hartford. But of course, Hartford is not nearly as good as this Nashville team can be, with BJ Callahan being the head coach. So that's something we gotta look out. In talking about Will Sands, right? He is going to the game. He traveled, I believe. We don't know if he's going to be a starter. That's something we still gotta wait until the predicted until the lineup comes out. I think he's going to play. I think Calaporte is going to make the effort and put him to play in the game at least the first 45 minutes, and try to have him play at least a little bit of how he played last week. Because last week I think was, again, it's a preseason, but last week was probably the best game of Will Sands with the Revs jersey, and he went further. He went behind the line. He went through the middle. Cross had a lot of chances. So Will Sands seems to be doing a turnaround. He had a whole full preseason with the team. So I'm interested to see. I criticize him a lot. I haven't seen much of him to think that he's a starter. Probably Peyton Millen is going to start some games as well, but Will Sands has the opportunity to grab that position and be the starter for this team if he can play, right? So those are the details from both teams. So what I would like to see from today, it's a solid defense performance. It's a really tough team that we're gonna face, even though they didn't have the best season last year. But it's a whole new team, but they have very talented players. So I want to see that chemistry between the defense players. I want to see Ivacic having a good game. I have my own thoughts about Ivacic that I'm not gonna share right now because I don't think it's the moment. I want to see. I want to give him a new shot. I want to give him a different opportunity to showcase. We all know he's talented. You all know he's a good goalkeeper. He's a good shot stopper. I think he could avoid a lot of the goals that we conceived last year, right? So I want to see a good performance on the defense. I don't expect much from those guys in a defensive midfield role, center midfield role, because I know what they can provide, and they seem to be playing very well. Yusuf was probably the best signing last year, and you had a pretty good game against Hartford, so I think they pair up pretty well. And I want to see that connection, Carlos Hill with Ganago, and La Campania. That trio, I'm really excited to see them play. Really excited to see what can they show, and especially Ganago, because we know Carlos Hill, we know Campania, we don't know Ganago, and so he can show to us what can he do against MLS play. Because of course, like I said, Hartford is a good team, but it's not an MLS team. So if Ganago can prove that he can be as good as he was against MLS play, he's a guy that can come in as a designated player and be a real difference maker for this team. I'm gonna say it. We still have Chancalay out. Still have Luca Langoni. Have Luis Diaz that also travel with the team. So those guys, we've seen them before, right? And I think Langoni has still to get into a Langoni that I want to see, which is taking more responsibility, calling the plays, asking for the ball. I think at times he's still hiding, still like, I don't know what's the right word to say, but he's still sometimes not as much involved in the game as I would like to, because he's a guy with high quality, which was the difference between him and I would say Borrero, because Borrero wanted the ball all the time. Even though Borrero wasn't in his best shape this past year, Borrero wanted to be involved in the game and being participating in the game and calling the plays, going for the dribble. I think Langoni, when he gets the ball, he's pretty dangerous, but I want to see him asking for the ball, getting more involved off the ball, and also shooting more, because he has a pretty good finishing too. He scored a decent amount of goals for a guy who came last year. So I want to see him getting more involved in the game. Campania is a striker everybody knows. He's going to produce. There's no doubt about that. He's good on the ball. He's good off the ball. He's good at fighting for the ball. And he also had headers and high balls. Is one of the best in MLS. And he has a good goal average per 90 minutes as well. So there's a huge chance he's going to score tonight. So those are the things I want to see. I want to see a good, solid defense performance. I don't want to see the same as we saw last year, of course, but where you see the defense players are sometimes going higher way too much and then leaving a lot of space behind, a lot of dangerous passes throughout the middle, which was something that Fofana did against Hartford. Sometimes you get lost on where he has to pass the ball, and then he tried to do a diagonal pass through the middle and ended up giving Hartford some chances, right? But a solid defense performance and that connection, Carlos with Ganago and also Léo Campana. So those are my thoughts to this game. If I have to predict, the Revs going to be with a very similar lineup, if not the same, of the game against Hartford, which consists of Ivacic, Brandon Bai, Fofana, Ceballos, and Will Sands, if he can play, which I think he's going to play. I don't have any information, but I think he's going to be the one starting as a left back. Jackson Will, Hassan Yusuf, Carlos Hill, Ganago, Langoni, and Léo Campana. That's my starting lineup for this game. And I predict a 1-0 win, New England Revolution. It's going to be tough. It's going to be hard. I think the New England Revolution will take the win on this one because of who's playing, the injury report, and the differential factor of Carlos Hill, and also the surprises with Ganago and Léo Campana playing together. So I think it's a 1-0. I mean, it's going to be a really tough game, but that's what I expect for this week. And then on Sunday, I'm going to be publishing another video. We're doing the recap of this match week 1, right? If you guys are excited, let me know. Write on the comments. Tell me guys predictions for this game. I always love seeing the predictions. We at NOS are very divided. I was on the sports shows yesterday. I was like, I don't know about that one. I don't know if we're gonna take the win. And then I woke up today feeling, yeah, we're gonna get that win. So I want to see y'all's predictions. What do y'all like to see? Who do you guys want to see starting in the midfield going forward? There's a lot of debate about Matt Poster. So write on the comments what do you guys think, all right? Guys, have a good one. Enjoy the game tonight, whatever you guys might be watching from. I'm going to be on a call for NOSA starting at 8 o'clock doing our pregame in Portuguese. So, see y'all tomorrow.